Howdy folks, Andy here, the Sax Geek. We have an interesting project today. We're making reeds, believe it or not. And what we're doing is I'm making them for this little tiny fake mouthpiece to use for an interesting avant-garde music project. To give you an idea of scale, this is a soprano mouthpiece. That's a Barry soprano mouthpiece. So you can see how much smaller this is. More about that and what we're up to here. As you can see, I've done a few in a second. Alright guys, so in a couple of days, well, next weekend, I have a avant-garde music gig. It's a duo thing where I do some looping and some actually spoken word comedy kind of stuff, maybe. We'll see how I feel about that. One of my pandemic sort of projects. And long story short, it's up in Salem, Mass. It's going to be wild. A lot of parking is going to be terrible. The whole bit. But it's going to be me and a drummer friend of mine, and what I'm going to do is some out there music, and I had an idea a number of years ago, 2 years ago, I guess, 3. I was given, I don't know how long ago, but before the pandemic for sure, I was given this. This is a keychain. In fact, I can even show you. There's a keychain ring and a hole in it right here. I have a musette. A musette is a Chinese woodwind instrument that is pretty basic. It's like a wooden tube, like a pan flute with holes for fingers, 6 or 7 openings, and then a big brass bell. They're usually fairly ornate. Most of them are vintage things. Dewey Redmond famously played one, and other people have played them. It's a double reed instrument. I was given the instrument, a friend of mine who I worked with back when I had a day job, picked it up for me in China, because her family is from China. She went to visit home. And so I thought when she brought it for me, it had a whole bunch of reeds. None of them ever worked. They were trash. And then there were these 2 plastic reeds, also garbage. Nothing ever played on it. It never worked. I couldn't really use it. And I just had an idea. What if I made a reed for this thing? Here's what's interesting about this. So this is a Sios plastic 3D printed mouthpiece, and what's hilarious about this as a keychain is that it's literally a keychain, but it's got a facing curve. Okay, it's got a baffle and a chamber. It's pretty bonkers. Babbitt, or Otto Linker Meyer, the amount of finish work that goes into a old vintage style mouthpiece like this, obviously you couldn't make keychains. You just couldn't. But 3D printing allows. I'm very anti-Sios. I don't like the green and the pink mouthpieces and all that stuff. I think that rubber sounds better, and this it does. I prefer personally more accurate facing work. But a lot of people are playing these things. It speaks to the talent of the young musicians and the versatility of the instrument. All the instruments that we play, piano, brass, drums, whatever, strings, saxophone. The fact that humans can make sounds on these things is amazing. So I try not to be too dark on the Sios thing. I wouldn't play one myself. And then I was at Virtuosity, and Brett Wahlberg, who's one of the guys over there, he I saw this on the counter. I was like, dude, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, these are from Sios, and he gave me this one. It's been banging around in my pocket. It's a little worse for the wear, but considering this is a little 3D printed piece of junk, it's lasted pretty darn well on my keychain, I'll tell you that much. So I'm making reeds for it. I'll have to do a rubber band, or I could go to you could go to a hardware store and get a screw clamp, a hose clamp. You could do that. But we'll need something to attach the reed. But what I did was I grabbed an old box of soprano reeds. Here's a Java 3, and you can see, that's a soprano reed, fits on a soprano mouthpiece. So we put it on this thing. Where's the mouthpiece? It's not there. So what I'm trying to do is trim these reeds so that they fit this tiny little mouthpiece. And, it's a decent opening. It's pretty wild. I mean, look at that. So it hangs over really far, as you'd imagine. I'm not going to deal with that unless it doesn't fit on the machine, on the instrument. I have to still dig the instrument out of storage. Of course, I still have it. You don't get rid of something like that. But anyway, these were the first ones. And what I started doing was splitting the reed at the end. We'll do a few. This came out a little too thin at the end, and it's not really meeting up with the rails. It's hard to show you. Next one, same deal, even thinner, and so this one really doesn't fit. You could see that's really pretty bad, so that doesn't work. We're going to try them all. Here's one of the third-ish one, and did pretty good. So as you could see, as I went along, they got a little closer. I'm working on rounding the corners and a few of the things. So we're going to do a few together. I thought you would want to hang out on this little weird journey. So let's talk about the reed, what I'm trying to adjust once they're cut to size, more or less, and I'll show you. All right, so the way I understand it is that the strength of the reed is on the outside, and the reed is thicker here, and then gets lighter and lighter and lighter as I picked a pen that doesn't work. Good. In here is the heart, and the heart of the reed is sort of the thickest part. It kind of goes down this way. So when I cut these, because I'm cutting the reeds like this, it's not really working. So I'm cutting the reeds like this. And so what that means is we're losing our area here where the wood is shaded to give you the strength of the reed. So in order to make these playable, I am trying to sand them on the outsides here, and what I'm doing is I'm going in a diagonal direction like this in a V shape so as to try to leave the heart material in the center. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is when I cut these, it becomes pretty straight up here at the tip. So then what I'm doing is I'm going on the fine sandpaper and I'm rounding the reed out at the tip as much as I can, trying to keep everything even from side to side. So that's what I think that needs to be done. That's what I've been trying to do on a few of these, and adjust the width of them so that they fit here on the right part of the facing, on the side rails and the tip rail, more or less. Mind you, this has been in my pocket with my keys for 3 years, so it's just an experiment, guys. So let's do one. I'm gonna move the camera so you could see better, hopefully, and let's without my hands in the way, and let's see what we do. All right, so what I have here is a couple of small pieces of the 320 grit sandpaper that I'm going to use to shape the sides of the reed where we need to remove material to make our strength of the reed, going in like diagonal to avoid the heart, trying to leave some of that material. And then we need our glass. I have my piece of glass here. The only reason I need that on this marble that I have here is because there's like hot glue. This isn't really flat like it should be. I eventually need to go and clean that off. So I'm going to use my glass I use for my reeds. That's what it's really for. With some bigger pieces of sandpaper. And as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just doing long stripes along the side of the reed to flatten it back out after I've cut it down. And I'm trying to get it as roughed in as I can. I started by cutting and then trying to pull it, have it crack all the way down, but it came to be unreliable. So what I'm kind of been really using the X-Acto knife here. Well, this is just a box cutter really, but it's a straight edge. And I've basically been using that. So let's see if I can do this with the camera in front of me. And I'm also using 180 grit to hog off more material. You know, when I first cut the sides, it's pretty rough, so I'm using the stronger sandpaper to bring it down flat, and then switching to the lighter. And that's how you would do when you're, doing any kind of finish work. That's exactly what you would do. So that's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned. Also thought I'd show you real quick this awesome Vornado fan from the 50s I got in a estate sale today. Check that out. Look at this thing. I'm in the process of rewiring it, cleaning it up a little bit. The old guy's got an Uncle Tony repair, an Uncle Frank repair. They put this big handle on it. It's pretty stout, but they didn't even try to get it on right. Look at how wrong that is. Pretty incredible. Anyway, back to the reeds. Alright, this is really hard to do with the camera in front of me, but let's see if I can get this going. So what I was doing was I was just trying to pick a spot not too far in, because I need some decent width at the end for it to line up with the mouthpiece. So I was just kind of picking a spot, bringing it down. Okay, being careful with the old fingers, of course, and just using a little pressure and trying to get it to cut straight as best you can, like that. And that's and then I was just kind of adjusting. Yeah, you can't really see anything I'm doing. But just peeling by hand. Let me see if I can move the camera again. All right, so now maybe that's a little better, and that way you can see some of what I'm doing here. And I'm just basically pulling it nice and clean here. Just to bring it kind of close to the size I want, but as you can see, I didn't go too far in. There's still a little curvature on the end of the reed there. I might even, real quick, just it's a little high there. And you know, with a better blade and a better knife, you could do a little better. And now let's try the other side. And again, I'm just going to try not to go too far in, because I can adjust by bringing it down on the paper. So I want to leave as much material as I can. So that's what I'm trying to do. Can you see yet? Like that. And I just try to bring it down evenly. Yep. Good, and then I'm just gonna take off any excess. Kind of a high spot in the center there. Okay, so there's our half reed blank. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it on the 180 grit, which is this sandpaper here, and as you can see, what I've been doing, I'm just going to try and bring it flat right across, being pretty careful. Not only to have it remain a flat surface, but to not bug up the end. It's so thin down at the end of the tip here, it's really difficult. So you want to be careful. I'm trying to be really careful. Okay. All right, and that feels, oh, dropped it. All right, now we'll go ahead and give it a quick look in this raw state. Obviously, it's way too big down here, but I'm kind of ignoring that. And I'm really just trying to pay attention to how it lines up with the tip. And it needs to be rounded, obviously. And it's a little too big. I mean, that's a little much. So I'm not sure. It doesn't look that uneven at the top. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to bring it down anymore. I don't really want to, and I would have to decide which side. It's probably this side that needs to go in a little bit. See if we can do that. More right there. Uh-oh, a bad spot. just want to bring the back in. Let's see. Try to use the flattest part here of the glass, obviously. And then I'm just going to round the sides a little bit underneath and on top of the reed, and I'm talking about. I know this is so out of focus, guys. I'm really sorry, but here on these edges and back here, I'm going to round this out a little bit, just so that it handles okay and that it's not bad when I'm playing it. Do a little finish work on it. That just takes the edge off. They call that chamfering. I'm just taking that edge off a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going the other side too, up around the bark, just to make it nice and sort of smooth, a little bit finished. Now we go to the 320. So this is less grit. And I'm going to keep working on the sides a little bit. Sorry. And then I'm going to start working on the edge, and I'm just going to draw it very gently this way, like this, to create a rounded edge. And let's see if we can do that. So very gentle, barely any pressure, and it does work. Just a consistent stroke with it. You can see that. Not bad. A high spot on the outside there. And we're going to do the other side too. And the mouthpiece is very rounded. You know, that's one of the things that a refacer will do, is that they'll kind of look at the reeds you play to determine how to shape the tip. And you could go farther. I mean, you could take this to a lower grit sandpaper. Let's see how that lines up with our funny keychain mouthpiece. Sorry about the shaky camera. And that's not terrible, really. You know. So now let's work a little bit on our strength, which is our. These should be have a little more slope to them here, and we lost a lot of that when we cut the sides off the reeds. So we're gonna just do a little work here, and I'll show you that. So I'm gonna take my sandpaper. I'm actually using a slightly used piece. It gets filled up and it loses a little of its grit, and it makes it a little more forgiving. I shouldn't be doing that on this. Hold on. So I'm just gonna. All right, we're back on our surface here. I'm just gonna sand off that way. So what I'm doing is I'm going diagonally this way and that way to leave the V in the center, which is your heart. It's hard for you to see. I didn't really put any thought into shooting this little segment here. Now, to be fair, I could have used the Reed Geek tool for this, but I didn't. So I just kind of smoothed the top of this up a little bit. You can do a little more, you know, just take it to where you want to take it to. I don't know if I've taken enough off of this, but, you know, I'm just gently taking any burr off. And there you go. There's a reed. So I don't know. Who knows how any of these are going to play. And I haven't even found the instrument yet. It's in a box somewhere. So once I get that out, we'll do some. We'll do a video and see. We'll do a first play on all of these reeds and see which ones actually work, if any. If any, I'm skeptical, but I thought it'd be fun to try. So anyway, thanks for watching. Making a reed, silliness, but there it is. Making a reed for a funny little mouthpiece. So thanks for being there with me. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll find that instrument and we'll give it a try with these reeds. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think I really will go to the hardware store and buy one of those screw clamps for the ligature. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. Hardest part is going to be attaching this to the instrument. It all depends on the bore here and what we can make work. So nothing is for sure yet, except that we wasted a couple hours of our life making reeds for some reason. Making tiny little reeds. Quick little update, guys. I did find the musette. This is a student Chinese musette. This was bought for me by a friend in China, and it's got some cool Chinese writing on it. This is just like a tin end, which is not connected. It's actually loose, and that's how you put it together like that. And it's got openings. It's got one on the back for your thumb, and then 6, 7 on the front. It's even marked B flat, which is kind of hilarious. Who knows if we'll even find it to be in tune with what we're trying. And this is what it's got for the bocal, which is pretty thin compared to even that keychain mouthpiece. So who knows how much modifying we'll have to do to get it to work, and then will it be even relatively in tune with any of the Western sounds I plan to use at the show. Who knows? So that's what we'll do in the next videos. We'll see if we can attach that mouthpiece to this thing, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Saxophone Geek, and whatever this thing is, geek.